Fortunately, I haven't died. I need to see a comment in the post that I have all but died. No, I'm very much alive, or at least I think I am. Um, Welcome everyone today. Sorry for being a little bit late. We have had a slight hiccup in that I was hoping to have my comrade Rami with me today, but he unfortunately has come down with something. And under the circumstances, we thought it best if he just rested and recovered, which is going to make this, to be frank, a little bit challenging for me because we have a lot of material we want to get through today with you. And normally if Rami's here, that's all much more manageable. So I'll do the best that I can with all of this material. This, of course, is all about the Iran war, the criminal war of aggression on Iran. And we've gathered together some video footage from around the region, the Persian Gulf, from the genocidal Israeli entity, a number of very interesting news reports to do our best to bring you up to speed on this expanding and intensifying conflict. So while people are strolling in, I just want to say hello to Ladia LexM 1339. How you doing? We have people in the audience asking about the war criminal Netanyahu and whether he's alive. An intriguing question. There are also questions surrounding Ben-Gvir, the Minister of National Security, the one they keep calling the extremist, when in fact everybody in Netanyahu's cabinet is an extremist. Hello to Ode to John Trudell. Nice to see you. We've still got people coming in here. I guess while I'm waiting for people to enter the live stream, let you know that I just received news a few minutes before this live stream began that a visa has been issued to me by the Iranian government for entry into the country sometime in the next few weeks. I'll be part of a small contingent of foreign journalists, I understand, that's my understanding of what's happening, who will be given an opportunity to witness firsthand what is being done to the country. So I expect that's going to happen sometime, as I mentioned, in the next 2 weeks. We have friends coming from Ireland, Lunar Wirable. Thank you very much for joining us today. More people asking about the war criminal Netanyahu's destiny. Okay, so look, we're going to get started here. And as I said, I'm probably going to be stumbling through this a little bit because I've got so much material I want to get through and no assistance to get it done, unfortunately. I'd like to begin today's live stream by reminding you of something that the war criminal Netanyahu told the United Nations General Assembly about 6 months ago. This is what he said.
Crippled Hezbollah, taking out most of its leaders and much of its weapons arsenal. You remember those beepers, the pagers? We paged Hezbollah, and believe me, they got the message.
Yes, we're confident that they did get the message. And Hezbollah recently sent a message of their own to the depraved war criminal. And this was that message. And I'm wondering if Benny got the memo that, in fact, Israel, despite all of its savagery in Lebanon over the past 2+ years, did not cripple Hezbollah. And just to make sure that Benny got the message, Hezbollah put out a video, one of many it's issued since this war began, highlighting what is its largest rocket attack, 200 rockets into northern occupied Palestine. And this is what that video shows. That's quite a message. Again, I wonder if Benny got the memo. Now, interestingly, Channel 12 News in Israel conducted a poll recently asking Israelis what they thought about the performance of various war criminals in the Netanyahu cabinet. These were the results. They asked them to rank their performance during the Iran war, or I should say the war on Iran, on a scale of 1 to 10. So you'll see here that the highest score was accorded to the Chief of Staff, Eyal Zamir, who got a 7.4. The Mossad director, Didi Barnea, got a 7.2. Netanyahu got a 5.6. And the man who's in charge of this criminal war, at least in theory, Defense Minister Israel Katz, got a rather disappointing 5. And then the Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, 3.8. Yes, the cost of this is spiraling out of control. Now, just consider that these scores were obtained by these criminals in an extraordinarily repressive military censorship regime, so that Israelis are not being told even 30% of the truth of what is happening in the genocidal entity and across the Persian Gulf and in Iran. You can be sure that they are getting an unbelievably skewed picture of the conflict and are being told that the damage to Israel is much less than it actually is, and that the damage to the Islamic Republic of Iran is much worse than it actually is, and that the conflict is on the verge of being concluded, and blah, blah, blah. So if they're getting these scores, these really mediocre to poor scores in this media environment, you can imagine how difficult things actually are in the genocidal entity. Now, after the satanic Secretary of War of the United States, Pete Hegseth, said that the leaders of Iran were hiding like rats. That's what he said. The Islamic Republic held, as it does every year, a couple of days ago, Al-Quds Day. For those of you who don't know, Al-Quds means Jerusalem and in Arabic, and it's an annual event to commemorate the Palestinian struggle to recover their homeland, of which Jerusalem is and should be the capital. And it's been held for, I think it was the first Ayatollah Khomeini who declared this a national holiday, I believe back in the early 1980s. This is actually an event that is now celebrated around the world. I myself have acted as legal counsel to the organizers of the Al-Quds March in Toronto for a number of years. And every year I'm called upon to make submissions to the Toronto City Council about why they don't have, well, not every year, but a couple of times I've been called upon to do that, why they don't have the lawful authority to ban the march. And every year the Zionist lobby shrieks in indignation about the urgent need to bring this to an end. They freak out, because one or two people waved a Hezbollah flag at last year's event or some such thing. In any event, it is an international event, and this year in Iran itself, it drew very large crowds. And I want to show you some of the people who appeared in the streets. You may have heard about this already, but it's really quite remarkable. This is the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. You can see just walking in the streets. It doesn't appear that there are any, bodyguards surrounding him. Those people look to me to be, probably a few of them are bodyguards, but he certainly doesn't seem to be taking any extraordinary measures to protect himself. Now, as I show you these images, recall that that we have been told that the vast majority of the Iranian people despise the leadership of the country, so much so that they would love to, string them up by a pole and have done with them once and from a pole and have done with them once and for all. So not only do the images this image and the ones I'm about to show you demonstrate that these individuals, these leaders of the country, are not hiding at all, let alone like rats, which is precisely what the leadership of the United States and Israel are doing. But it really, these images contradict the claim that there is mass outrage being directed at the leadership of the country. So let's see if I can find the other one even more impressive than this. This is the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, walking the streets. I don't see a single bodyguard in this video. So despised that people are stopping the streets with selfies with him. Now I have to pause here just to make a personal reflection. Just in peacetime, you would not see images like this in any major Western country. That the leader of the country is just strolling through the streets, unaccompanied by bodyguards, and doing selfies with anybody who happens to be interested in saying hello. And I'll tell you how ridiculous the situation here is in Canada. You know, I have been involved in a number of peaceful disruptions of politicians in this country, ministers of the government, over the last several years, here in Montreal principally, but elsewhere. And by peaceful disruptions, what I mean is I've managed to go to events where they were speaking. Sometimes I even had to pay for a ticket to get in. I simply stand up at some point in the proceedings and ask them a tough question about Canadian foreign policy. And inevitably, when this happens, I don't scream. I don't use obscene language like a journalist. I ask the question in a calm manner. I don't wait for them to ask me to ask a question because I know they never will. So that's why I call it disruptive, because I simply don't wait for it to be asked. But when I ask the question, invariably what happens is they won't answer. And some thugs in security uniforms will drag me out of the building without my consent. They'll lay their grubby paws on me and drag me out. And it's gotten so bad now that anytime a minister of the Canadian government, this happened in fact recently about 2 months ago, comes to speak in Montreal, and I attempt to attend the event, I won't even be allowed in the building. So the most recent event at a huge hotel, which is not far from my place here in Montreal, the Prime Minister Goldman Sachs came to deliver a speech. I've been through this hotel. It's a lot of public traffic in and out every day. I've been there many times, just passing through. I tried to enter the building, and not only was I not allowed in, but the cops roughed me up. And they knew me by name. I'd never met them before, but they knew me by name, meaning that I am absolutely clear. This has happened to me many times now, where I'll see these, federal police or the police of Montreal standing at the entrance to a building. They say, "Hello, Mr. Lascaris, you can't come in." And I say to them, "I never met you before. How do you know my name?" And they just smile at me. I'm on a blacklist. So these guys, these cowards, these buffoons who run our country they're such sniveling little weaklings that they can't even stand to have somebody ask them a question, a peaceful question that makes them uncomfortable because it exposes their hypocrisy. That's how cowardly they are. That's how much they shield themselves from interaction with people in their society whom they're supposed to represent, but who may have a disagreements with them about how they conduct their foreign policy or some domestic policy. And here you have, in a time of war, the president of the Islamic Republic, who is reputedly despised by the population, walking, unaccompanied by a phalanx of bodyguards in the streets of the capital. You can draw your own conclusions about, who are the hiding rats in this scenario. And I want to show you another video here, even more remarkable. This is the Chief Justice of Iran on Al-Quds Day, walking in the streets like the president, and watch what happens.
با مردم در کنار مردم تا آخرین نفس و تا آخرین لحظه در مقابل اونها.
That was a bomb. That was apparently an Israeli airstrike. So just keep watching here.
مردم از این تاپ نمی‌ترسن. مردم ملاحظه می‌کنن. در زیر این باران و در زیر این مکتب به هیچ وجه
Now, did you see that man run away? Did he scurry away like a hiding rat? Can you imagine if it was a Western politician, all of a sudden 5 beefy bodyguards would have leapt on him to cover him, protect him from being hit with shrapnel or something like that. Then he would have been dragged away and thrown into the back of some, hugely expensive limousine, and he would have disappeared into the night. This is remarkable, absolutely remarkable in a time of war, that this man just stands there unprotected by a phalanx of bodyguards and continues speaking and expressing his indignation calmly. So again, the evidence contradicts in the most profound way what is being said about the leadership of this country in this extraordinarily dangerous time. This is not to say that these men are saints or that they're perfect or there's everything they've done I agree with. It's just that this narrative that they're cowards and that their people detest them is absolutely ridiculous. And it should be obvious to anybody. Now, I want to show you another video of this bombing that occurred during the Al-Quds parade from a different perspective. So you can see up in the center of the screen, in the upper half, you should be able to see some smoke, which is the aftermath of the strike. And you see the people are they running for cover? This huge throng of people? No, they're shouting their defiance. Now, tragically, one woman was killed by the shrapnel from this criminal attack. Obviously, it was intended, I think it's fair to say, to terrify the people and to cause them to run for cover. That didn't work out as planned. So she was killed, and she was carrying reportedly an Iranian flag at the time she was struck by shrapnel, and she bled on the flag. And somebody picked it up and continued marching with it. Now, the Iranian people continue to take to the streets to shout their defiance to the mass murderers in Washington and Tel Aviv. Here is a massive demonstration held in the historic city of Isfahan. This is in a time of war. Their country is being bombed to smithereens. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find a demonstration like that in a major Western city in a time of peace, let alone a time of war. One other thing I want to mention about this claim about the hiding rats, this is a poster apparently put out by the U.S. Department of State offering up to $10 million for the leaders of Iran, various leadership figures. If you look in the bottom row, you'll see Ali Larijani. This is the advisor, the Secretary of Supreme National Security Council. He was in the streets yesterday. I did not have the opportunity to dig up that video, but I saw him as well in a review of the available evidence. He was also walking in the streets. So, and certain of these others were also reported to be walking in the streets. So this idea that they're cowering in some dark tunnel somewhere has been belied by the evidence. Now, on the night of March 13 to 14, so that would be last night, Iran launched Wave 47 of Operation True Promise 4. So let me just find here the image I want to show you of the announcement. This should be right here. This was actually the video that was put out by the Iranian military as part of the announcement of the launch of Wave 47 of Operation True Promise 4. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost the sound there. Now, let me show you the announcement of what exactly was done as part of Wave 47. This is the Iranian Army statement number 24. Over the past hours, the Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran attacked the control tower, airport runway, and the hangars of the Israeli regime's Palmachim and Ovda air bases, as well as the headquarters of the regime's Shin Bet. This is the internal security service. It's like the domestic version of the Mossad. Using kamikaze drones, the Palmachim air base located near Tel Aviv is the center for the regime's satellite launches and missile tests, and it hosts missile defense systems such as David Sling and Hermes 900 drones. The Ovda air base is one of the strategic facilities and a training base for the Israeli regime's air force. This base has served as a deployment site for the American F-22 fighter jets. The Shin Bet serves as the operational heart of the Israeli regime's internal security organization, responsible for tasks such as commanding security operations and coordinating the protection of key figures and critical facilities. It's not mentioned here, but it is also a rampant abuser of Palestinian human rights. What the Shin Bet has done to the Palestinian people is beyond criminal, and every single person who works for that organization should be rotting in a jail cell at The Hague, frankly. As you saw there, the targets were of a military nature. And I think it bears pointing out again that the little information that is leaking out, video and photographic evidence of the Iranian strikes, I have not seen a single image or video of damage to an Israeli military base. But as you can see here, and I think we can assume that this is true, the Iranian military is absolutely targeting military facilities in Israel. It would do so for the simple reason that it is this military that is attacking its country. And that would be a priority for you, to cripple it, to damage and degrade its ability to attack Iran. So you don't have to, just make a leap of faith here that the Iranian army is telling you the truth when they say they're attacking these military facilities. They almost certainly are, and on a massive scale. And yet I have not seen, although I have been paying, scrupulous attention to the various statements that are coming out from a multitude of Telegram resistance channels and even from the corporate media, I have not seen a single image or a single video substantiating damage to an Israeli military base inside Israel. So what is happening, it really needs to be repeated again and again for those who are trying to get a handle on what is happening in this war, is that there are selective leaks being permitted by Israel's repressive military censorship regime that are designed to convince the world that the Iranian military is targeting civilians, civilian infrastructure, and only civilians and civilian infrastructure. And there are, and you're going to see in this report, and you've seen in other reports we've done, there does appear to be damage to civilian infrastructure. But to suggest that that's all that's being done, and it's not even clear in what circumstances that damage is being done. Is the damage being done because missiles that are aimed at military facilities or dual use facilities, things that serve both a military and a civilian purpose, they're actually being struck or knocked off course by interceptor missiles? Is this being done intentionally? Are they in fact striking the intended target, but the intended target is of a military or security nature and it's nestled amongst residential buildings or commercial buildings? We don't really know exactly in what circumstances this damage that's being done to civilian infrastructure is occurring. But what we can say is that the Israeli military is only allowing you to see what appears to be damage to civilian infrastructure and is suppressing to an extraordinary degree evidence of damage to military facilities. So let's move on then and look at some of the evidence that has emerged during the past 24 to 48 hours of damage or missile strikes in Iran. This was published overnight. This is what this is an incoming Khurramshahr 4, which apparently has released its submunitions. It reportedly can carry up to 80 submunitions, and this is over central Israel. Again, now this is apparently damage, some of the damage done by that particular strike, or another one involving these submunitions. And here's some more. Sorry if you just bear with me 1 second. This is where I really need Rami. That is a still image published by Sabrine News of more damage from the submunitions last night. And here is a brief video clip. I'm sorry, that's not a video clip, obviously. I think I may have already shown you this one. Now, there was also video footage last night of missile impacts in the genocidal entity. This is the aftermath, actually, of a missile strike. I believe this is in the Haifa area. You can see it's created quite a glow in the dark. Now, let me pull up. This was apparently a strike on the refinery in Haifa. That is the aftermath. And my understanding is that the Iranian military is targeting that refinery because of the strikes on oil storage facilities near Tehran, which have caused an extraordinarily dangerous situation for the 10 to 15 million people who live in and around the city of Tehran. You know, a black cloud has descended over the city. There's black rain, which is toxic, coming down upon the residents. And so the Iranian military has retaliated in part by striking the refinery in Haifa. There's another one, I believe, in Ashkelon, further down the coast of occupied Palestine. I would imagine that that too has been struck, although I have yet to see myself imagery to that effect. So let's take a look at another strike last night. This was in the south of occupied Palestine. You'll see, take a look again, you'll see no interceptors in the night sky going up, attempting to intercept that incoming missile. And now here's another one in the south of occupied Palestine. This could be the same strike that you just saw, but from a different angle. I don't know. And you may recall, I don't know if I actually showed you, but there was a statement by the Iranian military last night that they were targeting the Nevatim air base, which is in the southern part of the country in the Negev desert. This may have been a strike on the Nevatim air base. Watch that one more time. See at the beginning there, that incoming. Now, whatever that was, apparently it did severe damage because right after the impact, a large number of emergency vehicles descended on the impact site. So now I'm going to show you a video, somebody driving, I believe they're driving northward in occupied Palestine along the coast. They're driving in the direction of Haifa. And as they're driving, they see the aftermath of a strike. I think this is in central, possibly central northern occupied Palestine. And here's another. This is a video, I understand, of the aftermath of a strike in Tel Aviv. Now, we have, I think, some more video evidence of strikes in Tel Aviv. No, that apparently is it for strikes last night in occupied Palestine. So now I'd like to turn to the evidence of damage being done to U.S. military facilities in the Persian Gulf, and it's really quite something, I must say. The fact that the Iranian military has been able to sustain this level of fire on not only the genocidal entity, but also the many U.S. military facilities in the Persian Gulf, I think is testimony to the degree to which they have prepared for this war. And although, the propagandists in our part of the world love to say that they're running out of missiles and drones, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever to substantiate that. And just as a logical matter, when you're planning out how you're going to fight this war, if you're in the position that they are in, the leadership of the country, the military leadership, knowing the enormous resources that are available to the other side, you are going to inevitably pace yourself. You're not going to squander all of your firepower in the first couple of weeks of the war, because you know the other side has tremendous destructive capacity at its disposal and is willing to expend insane amounts of money to prolong the destruction of Iran. So, again, it would be only reasonable to assume that the Iranian military is expending its stocks of munitions at a pace that will allow it to sustain a defense of the country and a counterattack for, I would say, at least months, if not years. So in any case, whatever the stocks of weapons may be that are available to the Iranian military, there's no evidence of a credible nature that they are running out of missiles or drones. And in fact, as I'm going to show you later on, there is evidence that they have not yet used a number of weapons that are at their disposal. So I want to show you a remarkable image coming out of Baghdad. There was apparently a strike on the embassy of the United States in the capital of Iraq. This is one angle on the strike, the aftermath of the strike. Now let me show you another angle. This would be the same impact site. Now, I just want to pause here and talk to you a little bit about what you're seeing. First of all, that thing that's on fire, according to Iraqi resistance channels, this was a CRAM air defense radar installed inside the U.S. Embassy complex in Baghdad. And I guess you would expect that a radar would be positioned on the roof of a building so that it's not being obstructed by the infrastructure around it. I can't confirm to you that that is a radar, but if in fact it is a key radar for the embassy complex, that would suggest that this strike has rendered the embassy more vulnerable to missile and drone attack, because it now has either diminished or possibly even no ability to detect incoming missiles and drones. So this, I imagine, is a very alarming situation for the American military, particularly those who are stationed in Baghdad. Now, right here, in 2024, I went to Baghdad for the first time in my life during the genocide, and what I discovered was really quite remarkable. I had been led to believe, I think we've all been led to believe, that the U.S. occupation ended, the U.S. military left. Right in the heart of Baghdad, there's this thing called the Green Zone, which is where the U.S. Embassy is. But it's not just the U.S. Embassy, it's like a city within a city. And you can see here in the bottom half, I walked right by this area here. I was on the other side of the river, walking along, looking across the river into what is the Green Zone. You'll see there's a wall in the lower half. So the citizens of the country are barred from entry unless they have permission to do so. I tried to enter the Green Zone at the main checkpoint, and I had my journalist card. I was accompanied by an Iraqi citizen who was my guide. I also had my Canadian passport, and I showed the soldier there that I was both a journalist and a citizen of a country that is allied to the United States. And he said, "You can't get in here," into this huge city within a city, and it's surrounded by the river that runs through Baghdad. I think there's two, the Tigris and the Euphrates. I can't remember which one this is, but it is obviously, when you walk around it, it is probably the most protected site inside Baghdad, because the river effectively acts as a moat. So you imagine, they didn't have to dig a moat out of the ground. The river provided that protection for them, and that's precisely why this site was chosen. Now, if this thing becomes subjected to repeated missile and drone attacks, that would do extraordinary damage to the U.S. military's ability to sustain the occupation and to continue to exercise control over the country. Now, while I'm on the subject of Iraq, many of you will have heard that in the past few days, an American, a U.S. military refueling aircraft, a large aircraft, crashed over Iraq. The U.S. military, in typical mendacious style, claims that it was an accident. The Iraqi resistance asserts that the plane was shot down. CENTCOM confirmed yesterday that all the crew members, apparently there were 6, died in that crash. There was another refueling aircraft that was involved. It managed, apparently it suffered some damage, but it managed to land safely at a U.S. military base, might have been Incirlik in Turkey. In any case, somebody checked out the flight patterns of U.S. military aircraft following this incident, and this is what they found. You can see that the U.S. military aircraft now appear to be, at least as of the time, this is Flight Radar 24, at least as of the time that this image was taken, avoiding Iraqi airspace. So they're kind of skirting the border between Iraq and Saudi Arabia. By the way, this shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that the American military is making extensive use, to put it mildly, of Saudi airspace. So whatever the Saudis may say about their involvement in this war, but it's telling that the American military aircraft appear to be avoiding Iraqi airspace, which is consistent with the claim by the Iraqi resistance that they shot down that refueler. Now it gets worse for the Epstein regime. I'm going to show you a video of a strike on Dubai. Here's a brief video. Now, what appears to have been struck there is the famous Dubai International Financial Center. It reportedly was hit by an Iranian kamikaze drone. And the Dubai authorities were quick to label this incident as a successful interception, despite the conspicuous plume of smoke rising near the innovation hub, as it's called, of the Dubai International Financial Center. So you take another look at this and decide for yourself whether or not the smoke is rising from the building or whether this appears to have been an interception in midair. Yeah, that don't look like no midair interception to me. Why was this targeted? Well, I think the answer is quite clear, because the genocidal criminals in Tel Aviv and Washington struck and destroyed a major bank facility in Iran. And so the government responded and said, okay, your financial centers in the Persian Gulf are now fair game. And they did this. I don't think whatever happens in this war, that the Mossad operation masquerading as a country and known as the United Arab Emirates is ever going to be the same. It's certainly its reputation for stability is in the process of being demolished. So let's move on and take a look at some of the other impacts in the United Arab Emirates. By the way, I just want to remind people, if you don't know, or you may not know this at all, but one of the biggest and most important corporations in the United Arab Emirates is DP World. DP World owns and operates major ports around the world, including here in Canada, shockingly. Well, the leader of this organization, a guy by the name of Sultan something, is all over the Epstein files. He is, he was, while this notorious Zionist pedophile was alive, one of his closest chums. And amongst many other grotesque communications that emerged from the most recent release of Epstein files by the Trump regime was an email exchange between this Sultan character and Epstein, in which Epstein thanked him for the torture video. So apparently this creep, this scumbag, Sultan, who ran this huge corporation, sent Epstein, the depraved pedophile, a video of somebody being tortured and was thanked for it. Now, there was so much outrage over these revelations that Sultan had to resign from the leadership of DP World. And although the announcement of his departure did not link it to the Epstein scandal, that is almost certainly what happened. And I think it was simply international pressure was such that he had to go. People were probably telling the regime in the UAE and the leadership of this corporate entity that they just couldn't do business with this corporate entity if this man remained at the helm, because it would cause so much public outrage. So let's take a look at something else that happened in the UAE during the course of this this war. So I'm going to show you satellite imagery of the Al-Dhafra U.S. military base in the United Arab Emirates. This is really a wowzer. And what you're seeing here is the impact. On the left, you have the before, and on the right, you have the after. This is the impact of an Iranian Khorramshahr 4 ballistic missile on the accommodation area of American officers. That's what was struck, and it was largely obliterated and left a huge crater in the ground, as you can see on the right. So when they tell you that they've had I guess now the number is up to 13 casualties. There were 7 before the refueling aircraft was taken down over Iraq. That killed 6. So we're led to believe that only 13 have been killed. That is a laughable lie. I mean, they could have lost dozens of military personnel in this strike alone, unless the thing had been, largely or completely evacuated, which is a possibility. But this is just one sample of what is being done to these military bases. I'm going to show you some more satellite imagery. Again, sorry for the delays. This would be, I believe, also Al-Dhafra in the United Arab Emirates. Yes, so this was published by the Telegram channel Photros Resistance. This is the aircraft hangars at Al-Dhafra. You can see on the left before and on the right after. It looks to me like those aircraft hangars have been completely destroyed. And there is more imagery, satellite imagery, which I can share with you. Let me just pull that up. Now, unfortunately, in my haste to gather my materials together, I wasn't able to note what facility this is. I think it's a U.S. air base in Kuwait, but I could be wrong about that. It could be Al Udeid in Qatar. It could be the Al Dafra in the UAE. But as you can see, whatever the military base may be, that large hangar was obliterated. Now, we haven't seen too much about attacks on the Saudi the U.S. air base in Saudi Arabia. I think it's called the Prince Sultan Air Base. But there was an interesting report yesterday from the Wall Street Journal about that air base. And as you'll see here, according to the Wall Street Journal, no friend of the Iranian government, an Iranian missile struck Prince Sultan Air Base, damaging 5 U.S. Air Force refueling planes on the ground. I don't have any imagery to share with you of that, but you know, if the Americans are not able to use any of the air bases in the region to continue this criminal war of aggression, and if in fact there have been some interesting reports about the two of the aircraft carriers that are in the region, one the Gerald Ford, USS Gerald Ford, and the other the Abraham Lincoln. The Gerald Ford is in the Red Sea reportedly, and after suffering a toilet crisis in the early stages of this war, forcing it to dock at the U.S. naval base in Crete in Greece to try to deal with the problem of toilets backed up and sailors having to wait 45 minutes to answer the call of nature. Well, the USS Gerald Ford was ordered to go into the Red Sea area. It passed through the Suez Canal. And then yesterday, as I reported in my most recent update on the Iran war, the Americans are saying that there was a fire in the laundry room. So what exactly is going on there, I don't know. But it's not clear, particularly when you consider how far the USS Gerald Ford is from Iran. It's in the northern Red Sea, apparently, that it's able to play any meaningful role in the airstrikes on Iran. And then there are reports that the Abraham Lincoln was actually struck. Now, the U.S. military, so it is, I believe, in the Indian Ocean, or it was, to the southeast of Iran, sort of at the opposite end of this theater of war. And the American military has acknowledged that it came under attack in a weird statement, which I didn't have time to show you. But the Iranians are saying that they did do serious damage to it and that it has left the region. So you have a situation where the aircraft carrier battle groups are encountering difficulties staying within range. I'm not saying that they can't, but they're encountering difficulties. And the U.S. air bases in the region on land are being pummeled, senselessly by the Iranian military, as you've seen. So what is happening in these circumstances? Well, I'm going to hazard a guess here, which is based in part on some evidence that a lot of these airstrikes are originating in U.S. air bases in Europe. And I have absolutely no doubt that European countries are playing a huge role, a huge covert role in the criminal war of aggression on Iran. And I would suggest that that's been happening from day one. Those motherfuckers are lying through their teeth, and how can I say that? Well, you should watch if you really want to see how obvious it is that at least some of these countries are playing an important role in this criminal war of aggression. You should watch the most recent episode of Richard Medhurst, excellent journalist who has himself been targeted by the criminal United Kingdom government for his resistance journalism. And he showed, I just watched it last night, video of American warplanes, bombers, being loaded with missiles at an air base in the United Kingdom. And then he showed footage of David Lammy, the foreign secretary, being asked about the UK's involvement in this conflict. And it was quite clear, even though he was trying in the most clumsy and absurd way to dance around the questions that were being put to him, Lammy effectively admitted that the UK is probably going to participate in bombing the country directly with its own military assets, not simply by allowing its own military bases or air bases to be used by the American military. When I'm going to be returning to the region of West Asia, the Eastern Mediterranean, and then West Asia next week. And a priority for us is going to be to examine what is happening at the Akrotiri military base in Cyprus, which I've reported from on numerous occasions. I have a feeling that when I get there, I'm going to find that it's a beehive of activity and that warplanes are taking off regularly. And also, I'm going to try to investigate what is going on at the Souda Bay naval base on the southern coast of Crete in Greece. But be assured, my friends, that the Europeans are participating to a far greater degree than they are telling us. And while I'm on the subject of Europeans, I was surprised a few days ago to see a report that Giorgia Meloni, the Italian prime minister, criticized the murderous assault on the girls' school in Iran, which killed 165 children. And by all indications, I think that was an intentional strike. I believe this, it's not my theory. Others have articulated this point of view that this was done intentionally because those girls were the children of soldiers in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And so on the very first day, they hit it twice, not once, but twice with a Tomahawk missile. And with their extraordinary ISR capabilities, they could easily have determined that this was a school. They could easily have seen from the sky that there were children there. And they did it intentionally to send a message to the Iranian military that if after we murder your leader, you don't capitulate, we're going to murder your children, which is exactly what they've proceeded to do. So Meloni surprisingly criticized this publicly. I thought, what's going on here? Because Meloni is one of the worst vassals of Washington in Europe, apparently a favorite of the Donald. And the very next day, there were reports, which I think are accurate, that the Italian government is asking the Iranians to allow ships that are transporting oil to Italy to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think the timing here is coincidental. I think that Meloni doesn't give a rat's ass about those dead children, and that she did this in order to soften up the Iranian government in advance of a pathetic plea to allow oil tankers heading for Italy to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. I hope that the Iranian government has the good sense to tell her to get stuffed, because not only is her criticism insincere, the criticism of this criminal strike on the girls' school, but in addition, her government continues to assist Israel and the United States in every imaginable way, and has not imposed any kind of a sanction whatsoever, despite the mass outrage in Italy against their government's support for Israel and the United States. She's not imposed any meaningful sanction on these war criminals, not even on Netanyahu. In fact, she's allowed Netanyahu's plane to pass through Italian airspace when he's traveled on his junkets to Washington. So, it's all just kabuki theater. And I would say that the Italian government, with all due respect to our comrades in Italy, doesn't deserve any special consideration. Now, I want to show you something else involving another European vassal of Washington. There was a warning issued by the Iraqi resistance to the French government about its presence in Iraq. And here you can see that warning. The Islamic resistance in Iraq, Ashab al-Kaf, In the name of Allah, the subduer of the arrogant, after the arrival of the French aircraft carrying the area of operations of the U.S. Central Command and its involvement in operations, we announce starting tonight that all French interests in Iraq and the region will be under target fire. Therefore, we call upon our brothers in the security force to stay away from the square that houses a French force at the K1 base by a distance of 500 meters for the sake of their safety. Apparently, the warning was not heeded because this sniveling little cretin had to admit that a French officer was killed in Iraq. This was a report that came out yesterday. Apparently, Macron did not take this warning seriously, with tragic consequences for one of the soldiers under his command. There was another one, I understand, who was seriously wounded in that attack. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the overall picture. I saw an absolutely eye-popping report about the Interceptor missiles that are being used in this war by the United States and Israel. This is quite something. This comes from Bloomberg. Germany helps secure scarce air defense missiles for Ukraine. Listen to this, folks. In the first 11 days of the war against Iran, the U.S. and Arabs, so that would be their dictatorial little vassals in the region, used more than 1,000 Patriot missiles. This is the zinger, which is 1.5 times more than Ukraine received in 4 years of war. Oh my God. You know, the Russians have a massive missile and drone arsenal and have been pummeling the Ukrainian military with it for more than 4 years. The air defense needs of Ukraine are absolutely gigantic. Its consumption of interceptors has been epic, and yet in 11 days of war, the Israelis and the Americans and the dictatorial vassals of Washington in the region used 150% of the Patriot missiles used in over 4 years of war. If that doesn't tell you how desperate the situation has become for the U.S. military, I don't know what does. These people are playing Russian roulette with their military presence in the region. And I want to show you something else which gives us some insight into the bigger picture. This is a report from Jennifer Jacobs, who I believe is with CBS News. This is on the 12th of March, so on Thursday. There was another U.S. military medical evacuation flight today. It flew from Saudi Arabia to a U.S. base in Germany with about 19 injured service members on board. Among them were 2 military members injured when a drone exploded next to their vehicle, sources told me. And you may recall from one of our more recent reports that this military medical facility in Germany, which services not only people wounded in combat or in training in Europe, but also in West Asia, it announced that it was suspending services to pregnant women because it needed to focus its resources on the needs of the military in the region. So I think it's fair to say that we are not being told the truth about the extent of U.S. casualties in this war. Now, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what's happening inside Iran from a military perspective to close this out. Well, actually, there's a couple other things I want to talk about. And this, as you may have seen, there have been many, many reports of the Iranian military taking down drones. This is reportedly the remains of an American MQ-9 Reaper drone. This was published within the last 24 hours. And the number of Reaper drones and Hermes drones from Israel and related drones that have been taken down over the skies of Iran is now reportedly, I think, in excess of 40. These things are very expensive, and they play a very important role in the aerial campaign of the U.S. and the Israelis. So they're bleeding, sophisticated drones at a quite eye-popping rate. Now, I want to show you the weapon with which they may be taking out a number of these drones. This is quite an impressive-looking weapon. So that is, I understand, the 359 loitering surface-to-air missile. It's apparently reported, this is obviously published by the Iranian military, and the information I'm sharing with you came from the Iranian military. It's a bigger, faster upgrade to the drone-killing 358 that's already downed many U.S. drones. The smaller variant 358, known as Sakar-1, which is used by Ansar Allah forces in Yemen, boasts a proven combat record by shooting down multiple U.S. drones in operations in Yemen. And this upgraded version with a larger airframe and the powerful 359 turbojet engine achieves blistering speeds up to 1,000 kilometers an hour, a strike range beyond 150 kilometers, and operational altitudes exceeding 9 kilometers or 30,000 feet. Now, in terms of the naval warfare, the Iranian military has published this photo. These are nasty little speedboats. You can see that based on this photo, the Iranian military had them in abundance and may still have them in abundance. And they are intended to be used in the Persian Gulf. So according to the Iranian military, they've not yet used this weapon. These are Ashura-class fast attack boats armed with heat-seeking Qadr missiles. So they have a range of 25 kilometers. And when you consider, the width of the Strait of Hormuz at its narrowest point, I mean, these things could zip out from some protected place on the Iranian coastline in the Strait of Hormuz, and basically cover the entire distance. If they go out far enough from their point of departure, they could cover the entire width of the Strait of Hormuz with the range of that particular guided missile. And apparently they could pop out, get as far as they have to strike a target and go back within the space of about 20 minutes. They use thermal homing. They're immune, apparently. That's the claim to U.S. electronic warfare. They're cheap to build, and therefore they are a potent weapon to maintain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And this is really the key aspect of this war. I think what's going on is quite clear, and that is the Iranians are saying, we are going to make the global economy scream, and we're going to ratchet up the pressure day by day by day until you not only stop attacking us, but you accede to our demands, which include reparations. And as the Iranian government has said, recognition of our legitimate rights. I believe they're referring there to their right under international law, which they do have, to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes. They do have a right to possess for defensive purposes, a ballistic missile program. The United States has been demanding that all of this be flushed down the toilet by the Iranian government, rendering itself completely vulnerable to the aggression of the United States and Israel. So they've demanded these concessions, others, and they're saying, until you do that, until you meet our demands, we're going to continue to ratchet up the pressure in the global economy. And the U.S.-Israeli response to that, because they have no ability to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It's as simple as that. They keep saying we're going to send naval vessels in there to accompany oil tankers. Well, where are they? They're not going anywhere near the Strait of Hormuz because they're going to get destroyed. And the U.S. military command understands that perfectly well. So how are they going to prevent the price of oil going through the roof? The United States government, their only answer is to slaughter people. That's it. Kill as many civilians in Iran and destroy as much civilian infrastructure, make life for the Iranian people as miserable as possible so that they just basically throw in the towel and capitulate before the global economy is brought crashing down. Now, I don't know who's going to win this war of wills, but I can tell you that based upon my interactions with Iranians, I was there last year. I remain in contact with people in the country, regular contact. I'm regularly in contact with people in the Iranian diaspora who are passionately opposed to what is being done to their country. I also spent a lot of time, interacting with people from Shia resistance groups over the last 2 years in other parts of West Asia, including in particularly Lebanon and Iraq. And of course, I've born and raised in the West. I can tell you that I don't think the West has the stomach for this war of attrition. I could be wrong, but I think that the Iranian people are going to endure the murderous the crimes being committed against them, which may well intensify in the days ahead, and be sustained at an absolutely appalling level for weeks, maybe even months. I think they're going to endure it, and that it's going to be eventually Western governments who are collectively waging this war, make no mistake about that, who are going to capitulate in some manner, because this thing is going to spiral out of control really damn fast. And if you don't believe me, check out this report. This is from analysts at major Western financial institutions. Natasha Kaneva, analyst at JP Morgan, said in a note, quote, "By the end of next week, we expect crude supply cuts to approach 12 million barrels per day, making the deficit highly visible across physical markets." Now, she goes on and says, the market is facing an acute shortage of products, diesel, jet fuel. Jet fuel, folks. Wonder what need the U.S. might have of that at this particular moment. And that's liquid petroleum gas and naphtha that cannot be consumed simply because they're not available. And another analyst from RBC Capital Markets said it expected oil prices to exceed the $128 high hit just weeks after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 and top the 2008 record high, the record high of $147. We are revising our estimated runtime for the Iran war and the concurrent oil price impacts, said Halima Croft, RBC's head of global commodities. The conflict could last well into the spring, she added. So ain't no one buying Donald Trump's claim that he is going to bring an end to this war anytime soon. I think that in the beginning, there may have been some belief that he could pull this off, but sensible people in the oil markets, in the oil industry, and these people at the end of the day, they're driven by the bottom line, man. You know, they don't deal in fantasy, they deal in profit and loss. That's what concerns them. So they're taking a good hard look at the evidence. And what they're saying is this thing's going to go on for weeks and possibly even months. And we are going to see epically bad increases in the price of oil. So what is going to happen at that point? All bets are off. I think it's going to be quite a roller coaster that we're on. Now, I want to talk about something else, kind of big picture thing. It's to close out my presentation to you today. And that is, there have been some people in the alternative media who have been suggesting that, well, one in particular, person whom I've interviewed, that Israel is going to achieve its objective eventually of greater Israel. And with all due respect to those who take that view, I just want to point out some historical facts here, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and frankly, I find that absolutely preposterous. I have no doubt at all that that is the goal, that Israel's leaders are seeking to expand the borders of Israel right up to the Euphrates River. They're that crazy, folks. They are insane enough to believe that they can control all the land from the Euphrates River to the Nile. So this would include Lebanon, Syria, most of Iraq, all or most of Jordan, a good chunk of Saudi Arabia, the Sinai Peninsula, which currently belongs to Egypt, and I think a sliver of land on the eastern bank of the Nile. So I just want to point out that what a pipe dream this is, just based upon the historical record. Now, as of the 1967 war, from the time it ended, Israel not only occupied the whole of historic Palestine, it also occupied the Sinai Peninsula. And here you can see a map of what it occupied. And I believe it occupied this until early 1982. Now, the Israelis, I'm sure, want us to believe, and probably have argued many times over the years, that this was like a great concession they made, giving this back to Egypt. But I think that the reason why they gave it back to Egypt, quite apart from the fact it isn't theirs, it was it is part of the sovereign territory of Egypt, is that they couldn't keep it. The Egyptian military sooner or later would move in forcibly. It's got a huge military. Egypt has a massive population, and this was a massive security risk for Israel. And so in order to gain a peace with this large populous country, Arab country, to the west, something which they felt was necessary for their security, they withdrew their forces from the Sinai. As you can see there, the Sinai, I haven't actually done the math, but it actually looks bigger than Palestine. So that means that, you know, from 1967 to early 1982, the area occupied by Israel was more than twice as large as it is today. Now, interestingly, so Israel shrunk a hell of a whole lot in 1982. Interestingly, later that year in 1982, maybe this was to compensate for the, you know, injury to their ego of having to withdraw from the Sinai, the Israelis decided to invade Lebanon, and they established an occupation over a large part of the south of the country. And I'm showing you here a map of the area they occupied. They actually, in 1982, went all the way to Beirut. So that's not shown here, but this is the area they occupied from 1982 to 2000. Okay, when they were driven out of the country. That's a pretty sizable chunk of land, as you can see there. And they had to withdraw from that too in 2000. Now, throughout this period, Israel has occupied the Syrian Golan Heights. The only time from 1967 to today, when the amount, the land, the territory occupied by the Israeli military expanded, the only time it expanded was after Bashar al-Assad fell in Syria, and Israeli forces moved deeper into the south of Syria. And they continue to occupy a chunk of land. But that land that the additional land they took from the time that Bashar al-Assad fell, I believe is smaller than the amount of land that they occupied in Lebanon. So what is my point? My point is that in the almost 60 years since 1967, the war in 1967, Israel has shrunk overall, and it has shrunk dramatically. And when you think about all the people that Israel has killed and the United States military have killed in service of the dream of greater Israel, all the destruction, all the money that they have spent, they have made shockingly little progress in achieving their dream of greater Israel. The idea that they're going to do that now, with all of the munitions they've expended and with all of the hostility that there is now towards Israel in the West and in the United States, with all of the munitions that they have depleted, I frankly find that beyond belief. And I think what we're going to witness is the shrinking of Israel and inshallah, the outright disappearance of this pestilence, this plague, this cancer that has infected not only the entire region, but pretty much the whole damn world. So those are my thoughts for today, folks. Because we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't have my trusted comrade Rami here to assist me in Q&A, I'm going to be signing off. And I thank you all very much. I did notice I wasn't able to pay too much attention to the chat, that some people made some generous contributions while I was sharing my presentation with you here today. Thank you so much for your generosity, for any support that you can give. As I say, these donations are designed first and foremost to expand our on-the-ground coverage, which we think is very important. It is, of course, important for us to be able to report to you sitting from the comfort of our own homes or studios in the West. But we think it's even more important to go to the actual areas, the crime scenes of Western imperialism, and show you firsthand what is happening there. And we'll be doing that again in the weeks ahead when I travel back to the region of West Asia. So thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe and peace out.